Most people over 60 are told the same thing about afternoon fatigue. It's just aging. So slow down and take a nap. It sounds sensible. It sounds safe. But here is what nobody tells you. Slowing down alone does not protect your independence because the real cause is still sitting on your lunch plate every single day. Endocrinology clinics see this pattern constantly. A sharp rise in blood sugar after lunch followed by an equally sharp crash by 3 o'clock. That crash is not a mood problem. It is a warning sign about how your body processes food as you age. By the end of this video, you will know the 5 habits behind that afternoon crash, counting down to the one insight almost no appointment ever covers. The number 1 item on this list is something almost nobody talks about. Stay with me until the end because that one can change how you approach the next 10 years. Here is why this gets missed. A typical appointment runs 12 minutes. In that time, there is barely room to check your blood pressure, renew a prescription, and answer one question, let alone walk through what you ate for lunch and how your body reacted to it hour by hour. So the advice defaults to something generic: eat healthy, stay active, get some rest. None of that tells you what is happening between your fork and your energy levels at 3 in the afternoon. I'm not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. This channel exists to give you the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover. The stakes here are not abstract. When your energy collapses every afternoon, you stop taking the walk you planned. You skip the grandkids' visit. You sit down and don't get back up, and that is exactly the kind of small daily retreat that quietly turns into losing your independence. So let me ask you directly, does your crash usually hit around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, no matter what city you're watching from today? There is one mechanism behind almost every afternoon crash, and it is called a blood sugar spike and dip. Think of your bloodstream like a river that delivers fuel to every cell in your body. When you eat a meal that is mostly fast-digesting carbohydrate, white bread, pasta, a bagel, that river floods all at once. Your body responds by releasing a large amount of insulin to sweep that sugar out of the river as fast as possible. But the sweep often overshoots, and the river runs low again within 2 or 3 hours. That is your crash. Please do not skip this section. It is the key to everything that follows, because every habit on this list either slows the flood or steadies the sweep. If this is already making sense to you, tap the like button so more seniors can find it. The habit at number 5 is a light, protein-poor breakfast, toast, juice, or coffee alone. Protein acts like a dam upstream that regulates the river's flow for the rest of the day because it slows how quickly your stomach empties into your bloodstream. Skip it, and your river runs unregulated from the very first meal, which makes the lunchtime flood worse. Research published in nutrition journals has shown that a higher protein breakfast improves blood sugar stability later in the day. The protocol is simple: 25 grams of protein within 1 hour of waking, roughly 2 eggs plus a cup of Greek yogurt, or a scoop of protein powder stirred into oatmeal. Do this daily. If you're starting from almost no protein at breakfast, begin at 15 grams and build up over 2 weeks. The common error is having only toast or cereal and calling that breakfast, with no protein at all. If chewing or appetite is a challenge, a blended protein shake works just as well. If it causes nausea, cut the portion in half, and if that continues, mention it to your doctor. Pair this habit with the fiber habit coming up next, because fiber slows digestion even further on top of what protein already does. But even a strong breakfast will not save you if lunch itself is the problem, and that brings us to what's actually on your plate at midday. The habit at number 4 is a lunch built mostly around refined carbohydrates, white rice, a plain sandwich, pasta salad with little else. That's like pouring a bucket of sugar straight into the river with nothing to slow the current, because refined carbs digest in minutes rather than hours. Clinical nutrition studies have consistently shown that meals higher in fiber and protein produce a flatter, more stable blood sugar curve than refined carb meals of the same calorie count. The protocol: replace at least half the refined carb portion with a fiber source, aim for 8 grams of fiber at lunch, swap white rice for a cup of lentils or a cup of mixed vegetables. Build toward a plate that is half vegetables, a quarter protein, a quarter whole grain. Start by changing just one meal a day and expand from there. The common error is assuming whole wheat bread alone fixes this, when portion size and pairing with protein matter just as much. If you take blood thinners, keep your daily greens consistent rather than fluctuating, since vitamin K intake matters there, and mention any unusual bruising to your doctor. Pair this habit with hydration, because fiber needs water to do its job properly. Fixing what's on the plate matters, but what's missing from your glass matters just as much. Number 3, and this one surprises people, is mild dehydration. Blood is mostly water, so when your fluid volume drops even slightly, your heart has to work harder to circulate the same fuel. Like a delivery truck driving on a half-empty tank through traffic, everything slows down, including how quickly nutrients reach your cells. Geriatric research has repeatedly linked even mild dehydration in older adults to fatigue and reduced alertness. The protocol: 6 8-ounce glasses of water daily at minimum, spread through the day, one with each meal and one in between. If you're starting from very little, add 1 glass a week until you reach that target. The common error is waiting until you feel thirsty, because thirst signals weaken with age and often show up after you're already behind. If you're on a fluid restriction for heart or kidney reasons, follow your doctor's specific limit instead of this general number, and watch for ankle swelling or sudden weight gain as a stop condition to report. Pair this habit with movement, since movement helps circulate that fluid through your system. Even with the right food and enough water, there's still one habit most people get backwards after they eat. Number 2 is sitting completely still for hours right after a meal. Your muscles act like sponges that pull sugar out of the bloodstream when they contract, and sitting still turns that sponge off, leaving all the work to insulin alone, like closing every side road so traffic has to funnel through one lane. Studies on post-meal walking have shown measurable improvements in blood sugar control compared with sitting for the same stretch of time. The protocol: a 10-minute walk within 30 minutes after your largest meal, ideally 3 times a day, starting with even 5 minutes around the house if that's where you are today. Add 2 minutes a week as you're able. The common error is waiting until you feel the crash coming instead of moving before it starts. If walking outdoors isn't safe for you, chair-based marching in place works, or walking a hallway with furniture nearby to hold on to. Stop immediately if you feel dizzy or any chest discomfort. Sit down and contact your doctor if it happens more than once. Pair this habit with the crown habit coming up next for the strongest effect of the entire list. All 4 of these matter, but there is one specific habit that changes the shape of the spike itself before it can even happen, and it's the one almost nobody has ever told you about. Number 1, the habit behind that entire 3 o'clock crash is meal sequencing. Eating your vegetables and protein before you eat your starch or bread, every single time you sit down to a meal. The order you eat in changes how fast sugar reaches your bloodstream, even when the meal itself never changes. Fiber and protein eaten first form a kind of mesh across that river we talked about, slowing the current before the starch ever hits it. The same way laying gravel and mesh across a riverbed spreads a flood out instead of letting it surge through all at once. Fiber physically slows how fast your stomach empties into your small intestine. Protein triggers an early, gentle insulin response without letting glucose spike sharply the way pure starch does. So the exact same sandwich, the exact same plate of rice and vegetables, produces a completely different blood sugar curve depending only on which bite goes in first. This costs nothing, requires no new grocery list, and works with food you already own. Researchers at institutions including Weill Cornell Medicine have published findings showing that eating vegetables and protein before carbohydrates significantly lowers the blood sugar spike after a meal, even when the food itself does not change. Broader clinical trials on meal sequencing have replicated that flatter curve across different populations and meal types. This is one of the most well-established, low-risk findings in the nutrition literature for exactly this problem. Here is the protocol. First, eat your non-starchy vegetables for 5 to 10 minutes on their own. Then pause for a minute or two. Next, eat your protein portion for another 5 to 10 minutes. Only after that, eat your starch or bread last. If it's a sandwich, eat any side salad or vegetable first, then pull the filling out and eat that, then finish with the bread. Do this at every meal, especially lunch and dinner, since those tend to carry the most starch. If that feels like too much at once, start with just your largest meal of the day, then add the others over the next 2 weeks. The most common error is mixing everything together in one forkful out of habit, which erases the effect entirely. And the second most common error is rushing through the vegetable first step in under a minute, which doesn't give your gut time to start slowing things down. If chewing is difficult or you wear dentures, cooked or pureed vegetables first still work, the order matters more than the texture. If you manage diabetes with insulin, do not change your insulin dosing based on this technique on your own. Talk to your doctor before adjusting anything. If you ever feel lightheaded or unusually shaky after a meal, that is a sign to check with your doctor, not a reason to abandon the sequence yourself. Pair this with the post-meal walk from a moment ago for the flattest curve of anything covered today, and pair it with the protein breakfast for a full day of steadier energy. This is the one insight almost no appointment ever gives you, because it costs nothing, requires no prescription, and takes less than 60 seconds of thought before each meal. It is also the single biggest lever on that afternoon crash of everything covered today. Balance is not luck, mobility is not genetics, independence is trained, and so it turns out is your energy curve, one meal sequence at a time. Consider a typical case documented in the rehabilitation and nutrition literature. A 74-year-old woman who had struggled with a predictable afternoon crash for years, blaming it on getting older. Her lunches were typical: a sandwich, some chips, occasionally a small side salad eaten last, if at all. She started with 2 changes: 25 grams of protein at breakfast and eating her vegetables and protein before her bread at both lunch and dinner. Within 2 weeks, she reported her 3 o'clock crash arriving later and feeling noticeably less severe. By 6 weeks, she was taking the short walk she used to skip entirely, and she described her afternoons as something she looked forward to again instead of dreading. Here is exactly what to do, starting tonight. Tonight at dinner, eat your vegetables first, wait 2 minutes, then your protein, then your starch last. Tomorrow morning, add 25 grams of protein to your breakfast, about 2 eggs and a cup of Greek yogurt. This week, drink 6 glasses of water a day, 1 with each meal and 1 in between. This week, take a 10-minute walk within 30 minutes of your largest meal, even if it's just around your living room. And by the end of this week, apply the vegetables, protein, starch order to every single meal, not just one. Think of someone in your life who complains about hitting a wall every single afternoon: a spouse, a neighbor, a parent you check in on. Send them this video, because the fix costs nothing and takes less than a minute of thought before each meal. Tell me in the comments which of these 5 you are starting tonight. Your answers decide exactly what I cover next. And if this channel is helping you stay independent longer, subscribe to Bennett Thorne Senior Health, because that is exactly the mission here. This video is education, not a diagnosis. Your own doctor knows your history, so bring this list to your next appointment. I'm Bennett Thorne. Don't forget to subscribe and live longer.